And like always, we're back. My name is Charbel Milan. Today we got,
Conor McNaughton.
and this is a time shared. So, Connor, just to get you up to speed, this podcast is all about providing positive reinforcement to the people coming and listening. And the only way we can do that and provide added value is by having people like yourself on. People who are out here innovating, getting creative, and chasing their dreams. So just tell us a little bit about yourself just to get things going.
Appreciate that, Charbel. Everybody, Charbel dates my niece, so I'm grateful to be on this show with Charbel. Feels good to know that you're doing something right enough to get invited on a podcast.
Isn't it great?
27 years old, living in Atlanta, Georgia, own a roofing company. I am currently starting a restoration business for water and fire as well. And I am also looking into buying an apartment complex this year, multifamily, based off Grant Cardone's message of put your money where it makes money for you. So don't plan on buying a house anytime soon. And yeah, man, that's the memo for this year, bro. Compounding interest.
That's the memo for this year, but you just mentioned a lot of interesting things. We got a lot of interesting things to get into, but I just want to go ahead and just rewind because we've known each other for a very long time, and I've seen you come a very long way, man, in a very short amount of time. And I feel like the people need to know, the people need to be up to speed on what it takes to get to where you're at today, starting from the very beginning,
Sure.
when you don't know what you want to do, to now out here in
Sure,
Buckhead,
sure.
high-rise apartment.
So I myself am a recovering drug addict, and I really had to go through a lot of shit to get to where I'm at. So I use heroin and crack cocaine when I've been out using drugs, and I had a best friend who passed away, and I was in and out of treatment centers, and my last run was it was just kind of where like I was at the point where I was like, obviously I'm a drug addict because I let my drug dealer borrow my car. The car got impounded. I had a shirt and a pair of shorts because all my clothes were in the car, and I had no money to my name. I had a cell phone that I ended up breaking, and I got someone else to give me an iPhone, and it ended up getting stolen. And like, I literally had nothing. And I washed up at my brother's house, fell asleep on his driveway, like in front of his house when he was living in an apartment, because he was flipping his other house that he had. And the police came up, they like ran my ID, and like, you know, like the ambulance came up, make sure I was okay. And I was just been up for 5 days. Like I was
Jesus.
like, nah, I'm just napping. You know what I mean? And my brother came home and he wouldn't even talk to me. Like he like acted like I was some kind of creature, which I get it in some aspects, the way some people treat addiction. And then in other aspects, I felt very hurt by it. But like, I guess, man, what that really did for me was it was a catalyst for me to really be like, dude, like I go fucking hard, like in the paint, dude. No matter what it is that I do, like I'm going to do it to the most. And just losing absolutely everything really assisted me in eliminating a lot of fear. Now, you've known me most of my life. I've tried multiple business ventures and not all have been successful. So I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. But until really I lost everything and was able to get sober, and go into everything without having that sort of sense of insecurity of like, hey, dude, what if this doesn't work out? You know, what if this does, then I wasn't able to really attack a game plan the way I did this time after getting sober. So I'd heard about roofing before. I was doing solar out in Texas, and good friend of mine named Patrick Sheehan, he was like this young, good looking dude, really well spoken. He was like, I'm a crackhead, bro. And I was like, no, you're not. But that's how people always had perceived me, right? They're always like, dude, no, you're not. So Patrick pretty much told me like, yeah, he was. And so I respected him in a lot of ways. I listened to him in a lot of ways. And I was selling solar out in Dallas, and he was in roofing. He made 50 grand in 2 months working for someone else. And I was like, roofing? So once I finally came back around and was up in treatment, and I met someone else who did roofing, I was like, yeah, I gotta check this out. And I almost gave up at one point, because I didn't go into it and work for another roofing company. I started my own.
So it was kind of like a learning process.
It's a learning process. I didn't know anything about it. Okay. So I was knocking on doors, not really knowing too much. I knew how to get it done, Like I knew how to get the cruise done, but I didn't really know how to bill insurance. I didn't really know what insurance was looking for. I didn't really know what damage was. I was just able to do it after Hurricane Michael because the house is like, they're missing shingles and you know what's going on. And yeah, there was this point where, you know, I started in maybe like November and like I just wasn't doing that well. And I was like really on the fence about like getting high or not. And I was like, brother, like, and I just had like kind of a moment with myself where I was like, dude, you always cop out. Like you always don't stick with it. You always do this. Like we have something that makes money. You've heard that it makes money. See, because like I didn't have anyone showing me that it made money. And it's harder to have things come to fruition mentally if you haven't seen, like the proof is in the pudding, right? Like when you see it, much easier.
Because you want to know, am I tripping? Am I crazy?
Am I actually, is this actually going to work for me?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah,
Okay. So I didn't give up. And last year, a year ago today, around beginning of the year, January, I just committed and I went out in the morning and I would stay out all day, just like a hunter. You know what I mean? I just hunted. I knocked on doors. January, I probably sold about 50 roofs. February, I probably built about 4. And then March, I built about like 12. This is all by myself, like doing it all solo, marketing, branding, everything. From there, I just hit the ground running. A lot of people didn't. I moved back to Atlanta. A lot of people didn't think that this was going to work out for me. A lot of people have contacted me. But one of the greatest compliments that I still get to this day is that, oh, so you work for Sir Roof? And I'm like, no, I own Sir Roof, but I appreciate that. Because it's kind of like, yeah. So, but yeah, man. And then I just, over the summertime, I just kind of realized like, you know, this is not something I can do by myself. To be frugal in your business and to not utilize capital that you create to pay other people is not the way to position yourself to grow a business. So I doubled down on my own personal time and training sales guys. I doubled down on hiring people in the office to manage the billing with insurance. I doubled down on my advertising spending budget. I doubled down on SEO. I just reinvested a lot of what I would consider hard-earned money from myself going out. And yeah, now, you know, we're almost a year later into the game, and I've got about 6 or 7 solid sales guys. I got an office manager. I'm hiring another position in the office. I'm diversifying into a whole nother field, which is specifically restoration, fire and water work. I'm like helping other people make money and make really good money at that. And yeah, it's taken off now at this point. So
see, the crazy part is everything you just described wants to sound like a fairy tale, but it's not. It's just proof that it can be done. See, when you were at rock bottom, when you were laying there in your brother's driveway, he didn't even want to talk to you. Do you think there was something about hitting that point and getting to that point and finding that realization that this just isn't it? This isn't working for me. I'm running myself into the ground. Do you think there's something there that causes that flame to be sparked from within that ultimately led for you to get out there, believe in yourself, and get to where you are now?
Yeah. So when I went to rehab, my car had been impounded, right? So
that was from the drug dealer?
Yeah. So the drug dealer got the car.
So what happened there?
So the car got impounded. And I called my mom and dad. As you know, I'm a privileged white guy and I know this about myself, right? And I called my parents and I was like, hey, like my car's impounded. I need this car. And like I couldn't stop focusing on the car. And they were like, we're not getting your car out. Like that's not happening. And like I was just talking to everybody about it up there. And it was just like a person that was bitching that you wouldn't want to be around. And I kind of had that realization. And I was like, okay, so this isn't going to change. Like I don't have any control over the fact that I'm losing this car. Like I don't have any control over that. I just have to accept it and move forwards and be myself. And when I actually, which is like, you know, people that are in the rooms and Alcoholics Anonymous and stuff, and they always use this quote, and I think it's tacky, but it's true, is like acceptance is a very powerful thing. And when you accept where you're at in life and you accept the things that like you can't change and you just accept things and you move forward from it, then the real thing is like, okay, so imagine if I was to continuously focus on this car and I kept talking about this car, how much of a drag it would be to be around me. versus accepting the car's not coming back, being my true self, and able to utilize my personality for my own personal gains, right? Which in some ways is like, you know, people want to be around people. Like, here's one thing that I've come to realize in life. I always used to think, people are really big haters, people hate on you. And I'm not saying people don't hate on you, but I will say this. People are more genuinely driven to someone who is successful than they are to someone who isn't. People would much rather be a supporter than they would be a hater. It's human instinct to help each other out. And I thoroughly believe that. So yeah, when everybody was not helping me out, that's when I really just realized, like, I can't keep doing this. I have to do something different and I need to change. So
I'm guessing he borrowed it and he got arrested.
He borrowed it and got pulled over without a license. I'm getting high. That's last thing in my mind is what's going on with my car.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Yeah, not good.
You mentioned a good point about acceptance. Whether it's a drug addiction, whether you're failing at any sort of craft, once you accept where you're at, it allows you to get a better perspective. And do you feel like within that acceptance process, you became self-aware and you realize not only where you're at, what your strengths are and your weaknesses, but what you can improve? Because what we find a lot of times, by having people on the show, by talking to people, is we realize that a lot of our problems can be solved by ourselves. When you look inward, when you look to yourself, you have a lot of the solutions that you're looking for. And I'm starting to see that, that's some of the things that you encountered.
So I think that everybody internally has the ability to process whatever it is, right? Like your body is naturally designed to be able to process whatever is going on with you. That's, you go to sleep at night, you dream, you have these where the consciousness of the day of the activities intertwines with your subconscious, and you come to terms with things. So like, you go to bed upset, you wake up, you have a little bit of clarity about what you're upset about, right? Your body has that natural ability. I think being able to access the natural ability takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of, I would say, rigorous honesty with yourself, of like being aware of what your wants are and what your intentions are. And, I think it's all a learning experience, man. And I think even with me saying this, like, it ebb and flows, and I'm still not like a perfect person. It's just the ability to know that you're not, and the ability to be willing to change, I guess.
Okay. So allowing yourself to even open up to any sort of change, whether good or bad.
Yeah. So like me as an individual, I'm very open to what other people's suggestions are. It might take me like a small bit of time to process them, but no matter who the person is, I listen, I observe. I think qualities of a good leader is also being a good follower, because people that follow you want to be heard as well. They want their suggestions to be heard, and sometimes they might have the correct suggestion. Like, it's not to say that people don't, so.
Okay, that was very interesting. So to be a good leader, sometimes you need to follow, because you understand that, hey, maybe this isn't my field and somebody else can do this better.
Right. So like, I think it was Ted Turner who said this, and I don't know the exact quote, but the idea is that I'm not good at everything, but I know that I'm not good at everything. But what I am good at is finding people who are good at the things that I need done. So if you can find people that are better at you at doing the job, and you can utilize them to help you achieve your goals, then that is a much better way to assert yourself in life than it is to be the best at everything.
All right. So on the topic of getting jobs done, right? Let's imagine that I'm listening right now and I'm stuck. I want to start a business, not necessarily a roofing company, but any business in general, and I'm stuck, right? So if we were to put ourselves in your mindset, right? Going back to February, March, when things were just getting going, are you guys an LLC or what are you guys?
So I'm an LLC right now, but I'm changing over to a C Corp.
Okay. So you were starting an LLC, and what do you think a person would need? What is the mindset that it takes? What kind of things need to be done? Obviously, there's the logistics. You got to file for, your licenses and whatnot. But as far as like not giving up, because that's the thing, is getting over that hump, that initial hump when you don't have anything going, you haven't succeeded, you haven't even made $1. If anything, you're losing. You don't have the following, whatever it is.
I did it for years, bud. I did it for years. I've tried.
That's what we want. We want to hear that.
So I think filing an LLC, getting a logo, having someone make a website, coming up with different ways to market. I think all those things are great. I think that they're very resourceful skills to have, especially in creating businesses. I also think that they're the bullshit part of the business. So I think anybody can go on Vistaprint and make business cards. I think anybody can create a logo on Fiverr utilizing someone. I think anybody can look up how an LLC is filed and go online and spend $100 and file LLC. Yes, I understand that people don't have that knowledge directly, but if you want to, you can figure it out. The hard part in business, the actual part, is the work. It's the actual working a business that's tough. It's not getting a business off the ground. I mean, getting a business off the ground for me is some of the funnest parts of the business because I get to utilize my own ideas and what people want to perceive something as. So like every business I've created, I've designed the logo, I've made it some sort of catchy thing that is going to subliminally message you, and I'm very proud about it. I love that part. The actual doing part, like I own a roofing company. You know, I got this thing going. I knocked on doors. Do you know how miserable it is to knock on doors when people are rejecting you and you haven't even seen a roof being built? I mean, it's a nightmare. So like,
what's the technique there with the cold approach with knocking on doors at least?
Look, I don't know if you notice this or not, but your neighbors have new roofs. You're missing shingles up there. So here's the thing. Insurance will buy you a new roof. Like you got to pay a deductible, sure, but this is your biggest asset, right? Like this is someone has saved up. Typically, hopefully, if they made a semi-smart investment, because I think homes are a terrible investment, but someone has saved up 25% to avoid, property insurance. Or whatever it is, PMI insurance, I think is what it's called. So someone's at least saved up that. So they've put down maybe $50,000 for this home, and this is their vehicle to financial security, right? Your roof is so significant when actual damage is going on, like when water's leaking in there and there's black mold and like just health concerns and just drywall painting. And my thing is like, look, you're going to turn a roof that insurance would pay for into some negligence because you didn't get it taken care of and so if insurance finds things like stains on your ceiling, but like there's mold and stuff like that, then it's very apparent to insurance, depending on the adjuster, that you actually willingly knew and allowed for these things to continue, which is called negligence. They're not responsible for that. They're responsible for acts of God. So like when you really get into the mindset that like not only is insurance paying for your roof, right? I mean, let's say it's a $20,000 roof and you're paying $1,000. That's a steal. What if you had to pay $1,000 after your car crash? You got a brand new car, right?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
That's great. Yeah, sign me up, dude. I want a new car, right? So not only that, and you're increasing equity in this person's home. And I only use Total Protection roofing. So like I have a lot of I do Owens Corning Total Protection roofing systems. So Owens Corning backs all my labor, and I put designers. So like your roof looks really good. So like neighbors drive by, they see it, and I increase your property value. Not only all that stuff, but like, you're protecting your home. I mean, you're genuinely protecting your asset.
Wait, so there's a difference? There's designer shingles?
Yeah, there's a slew of stuff. Like anything in life, you got to give the options. People love options.
All right. Well, see, this is a reoccurring theme on the channel, whether it's business owners, whether it's people getting out there in the fashion industry, music industry, whatever it is. But is it interesting? I know that you're going to agree with this, but have you noticed that no matter what craft that you're going for, isn't it weird how when you start to take that step, a bunch of things just come in along the way that fit perfectly with what you're trying to do?
Yeah. So, so like I own the technology that insurance uses to delegate how much prices are, right? It's called Xactimate. It's owned by State Farm. And the technology, like line item by line item, will list out stuff like how much it costs to replace drywall, how much it costs to mud it, how much it costs to put the plastic around, how much to sand it down, how much to paint. Like all this stuff is built into the system, right? So I own this. I specifically use it for roofing, but I've had a couple internal jobs as well because people's houses leak. You have to paint and fix drywall, all that stuff, right? So, but... So I own this, I'm doing roofing, blah, blah. Well, what else does insurance pay for in a house? Well, they pay if your house burns down or if a pipe busts, right? So I have a friend of mine who reached out and was like, hey, I work for a company, like I could get this going. And now I have enough capital to like purchase all the water mitigation stuff, purchase a truck, purchase a trailer, like, push it against my taxes and lease it to the other company. Like all these little things that just kind of fold into itself. And yeah, it's the great part. It's like that saying. It's like takes money to make money, but once you made it, like you ever hear about people once they make their first million, it's just like they just can't stop making millions.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because money makes money. So
If you're doing it right.
if you're doing it right, like
Yeah.
really, there's no other way I could have gotten. Like if I, I believe this restoration company is going to work. I'm going to have to put in a lot of work into it, but I don't believe I would have been able to do it without starting the way I started, because it requires a lot more capital, right? Because you need all the equipment to go ahead and do this. And secondly, I can't knock on your door and ask you for business. I can't go, hey, Charbel, we're a restoration company. I don't know if you guys have had a pipe leak. You're going to be like, dude, no, we'd call you if we had a pipe leak.
Yeah, right. It's pretty out there.
So roofing, on the other hand, like people aren't the most apparent to realizing, hey, like your roof is missing shingles. Like you can see it from the street. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, come out here and take a look, So, yeah, this other realm is probably going to be a lot more financially costly in marketing, but I think it can also be very lucrative. So I'm going to test it out.
So is it like you're going to use the Sir Roof as the base platform, and it's like, hey, you're going to be approaching people, but not only do we provide a roofing service, but we provide interior restoration?
So it's going to be two separate entities. Okay. One's going to be Sir Roof, and one is Sir Roof, and the other is Sir Restoration. So completely separate. The amount that you have to pay for insurance for anything related to roof is extremely high. So for the amount of work that I'm going to be doing with restoration, they just need to be separate, because I'm not trying to pay for the risk of someone doing roofing when I'm not actually doing roofing. Like I'm actually doing like pretty safe jobs interior wise. So
okay. So earlier you mentioned, Grant Cardone. I'm guessing you're a big fan of Grant Cardone,
Yeah, I like Grant Cardone a lot.
I myself, I listened to a podcast that he had with, I think it was Jordan Belfort, and they were talking, well, not they, but he was arguing the fact that any customer, as far as, sales, being not interested is actually still a level of interest. Have you noticed that when you're pitching sales? Like if someone's not interested in a roof, is that like, okay, I just got to work this person a little more? Or is it just kind of like, you don't even waste the time? Like, do you think that's kind of out there of a statement for him to say?
No, I definitely work people. Yeah.
So that like obviously a big aspect when it comes to sales. I mean, you got to hustle in the sale because no one's trying to spend money.
That's what sales is, right? Like sales is conveying people to view the world the way you want it to be seen. So it's I consider sales inceptions, right? So like you've seen the movie Inception with Leonardo.
Yeah.
I feel as though sales is incepting people's thoughts. So like
I like that. So like you feed them.
Right.
Okay,
so like you
that.
feed them the way you want them to view it, right? So like, oh, well, we don't want to do our roof right now. Well, why is that? What makes you say that? Oh, it's just not the right time of year. I get that. But what about it? We can definitely build the roof. Look, I'm not trying to be a pressy guy with you, and I'm not trying to pressure into doing something, but like I'm letting you guys know, like I can help you out right now. Like 100%. I totally can. I'll grab my ladder. I'll come back. I'll do an inspection. And they're like, no. We don't want anyone on our roof. No problem. This is what I'll do then. Just let me grab my drone and get some pictures and show you what it is. You know what I mean? Like,
it doesn't stop.
Take 7 no's to get a yes, man. You just keep on throwing it down. Because like eventually you're going to get 1 or 2 people. You're going to get someone who's already had it on their mind and they're just going to be a ready to go customer. Or you're going to get someone like, man, roofing is pretty easy. I mean, it really is. If you go out and do it, it's practically a free product. Like they got to pay their deductible, and like people don't want to pay their deductible. And like anybody in roofing will tell you that in the state of Georgia, like it's not legal to pay your deductible. That's fine. Like, but you can pay people for referrals that they give you. You can do all these other things that still like, like if Charbel, if you paid me $1,000 right now, would that be legal?
Yeah, it would.
It would for sure. You're doing an interview with me. You're paying me $1,000 to do an interview. All right. If I let Charbel do my roof and I give back that same $1,000 to Charbel, is that legal?
It should be.
Should be. Well, you paid me to be an actor, right? And then I utilize. So like,
they're trying to say that that's illegal.
So
Is that like, are they trying to say
so
that
they're trying to say that homeowners are supposed to pay their deductible. Same way if you go to the doctor and you have a copay, you're supposed to pay your copay.
Okay.
Now, clearly, I own a roofing company and there's a certain set of margins that I need to operate in profitability. I want you to pay your deductible. I'm not cool with not paying your deductible. So what I typically do is I say, look, I get it. I totally understand. But here's the thing. Insurance is only paying for what's already on your roof. So you have a 3-tab shingle, a 20-year shingle. What we will do is we'll go ahead and upgrade your shingle, your underlayment, your ventilation system, and like your like pretty much you're getting the creme de la creme. Just don't give me a hard time on your deductible. And then they pay me their deductible. I do their roof. And then if they get me referrals, I pay $250 referral, whatever it is. So like, yeah, but that's the only like thing. But my opinion is like, if you can't sell someone on a deductible, you probably shouldn't be in sales. You know what I mean?
Jeez.
Like if you can't sell a $20,000 product for $1,000, and like what are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing?
You know?
Oh.
So
All right, wow, that was all right.
a lot of info right there, bud.
Yeah, that was a lot of info, but it was good info because it gives insight to the fact that like you can't just get out there and do something without picking up a bunch of little skills along the way. And specifically in your case, it was sales. But earlier you mentioned about how you want to get into multifamily complexes. You said apartments.
Yeah.
So is that like a personal like long-term investment goal, or is that something that you kind of ran into while you were doing the roofing? What have you done any apartment complex?
Well, I'm working on a 200. Like it's an HOA. It's a but it's townhomes, but they're all under the same insurance policy. It's about 200 of them. It's pretty large, but no, I've for years, I've always liked real estate. I think real estate's a great investment. My uncle, in the UK, he owns like a block of flats. Like he owns like 70 plus units. And I mean, they lived I wouldn't say like, in comparison, they lived a good life, right? They made enough money to have a nice house, do what they want, blah, blah. To me, I don't really consider it making money. Like I consider making money like, I think when I'm making $100,000 a month, then that's when I can start being like, yeah, I kind of make like $100,000 a month is where like after taxes and everything, you're still able to, rent a Porsche or have a Ferrari and go on vacations. And you know what I mean? Like
the shit that people fantasize
that people fantasize about. That's when you're starting to make it. Then I think you've made it when you're like hitting that like $1 million a month cash flow, passive income earnings. So, no, I went to Miami and, for a roofing convention, and, I've known Grant Cardone for years. I've had his 10X planner since I was like 18, and just, I don't know. He's just, he's like confident and just an embodiment of parts of myself. You know what I mean? So it's like seeing the same guy. It's like, when I see other men doing it well, I'm like, dude, hell yeah. I've never been like, you know what I mean? So, but his former asset manager's name is Benjamin Inman, and Benjamin was one of the key speakers down in Miami, and so Grant owns a $1.5 billion portfolio, but Benjamin owns 194 million, right? So still a pretty hefty number.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, like I'm going to meet that guy and I'm going to have him mentor me. Like that was my goal going down to Miami. So when he got off the stage, I followed out and I went up to him and I was like, hey, look, like, my name's Connor. I own a roofing company. I'm doing pretty well with it. I've had multiple other businesses. I haven't done that great with them, but like I know for a fact that multifamily is where it's at. And the way that I know where multifamily is where it's at is because of the fact, hey, will you pass me a cup of coffee? I know multifamily is the fact because like same thing that Grant says, but it makes a ton of sense, right? So we're not raising. So the wages aren't raising in America. Pretty stagnant. I mean, if the Democrats come in, the Senate is still Republican. Like there's going to be it's going to take a lot more time than what it is for things to actually transition to. And I think wages need to raise because it adds more capital to the economy. Does it cause inflation? Let me tell you something. I own Xactimate that you bill insurance with. Like I was saying, every month in Xactimate, all the line items increase.
Damn.
Like, so
Is
if
it
I
dramatically? Or
probably,
just enough to be
probably about
concerned?
$200 a month.
Damn.
So if you think about that over like in 3 years times, those roofs gone up a little bit, right? So yeah, so inflation's happening anyways. Wages aren't increasing. The burden of debt that kids are coming out with out of college is freezing up the housing market. And like, I think people are becoming more aware that housing is kind of a gimmick and it's a way for banks to make money, not individuals. So the thing is, we're trending more towards renting, right? So like, and in a recession, you still have to have somewhere to live.
Yeah.
You know, so you still have to have somewhere to live. So maybe you're in like, this is an A-class property. Maybe you'll move down to a B-class property, right? Maybe you'll start to circumnavigate your financial situation and figure out where you need to be placed. But all that being said, I knew I wanted to get into it. And I asked this guy and he was like, where do you live? And I was like, I live in Atlanta. And he was like, I live in Roswell. Let's meet up sometime. So, playing phone tag back and forth. I think Miami was like October, maybe November. Finally, before Christmas this year, locked him down, took him out to lunch. He was like, sure. I was like, I would pay for your time, bud. I want to learn. You know what I mean? So I took him out to lunch and everything. And I just told him, I was like, look, man, like he did a $10 million portfolio recently, a buy-in for I don't know how many units, probably over 100, something like that. And, 25% down, you avoid PMI insurance. So 2.5 million is how much you got to raise. So I'm like, okay, so you can go 50-50 with people and be the principal partners. And, there's like a lot of little words I still have to learn. But anyways, so I got to raise 1.25. He's got to raise 1.25, right? So that was kind of the idea leaving the meeting. Well, I told him, I was like, dude, I'm going to do this. So like I met Walk a Flock of Flame in my parking garage the other day because I know a guy that's like his manager for like assets and stuff. And I was like, Walker, here's the deal. $250,000, let's just say $100,000 for a point of math, 12%. So you put $100,000 down, you get 12% back. So you get $1,000 a month because we're collecting everybody's rent, right? That's 12% of 100,000. Boom, boom, boom. Over 5 years, the property, you gain equity because you've been paying down the mortgage, right? And we flipped up the property. We increased the value of the property so it rents a little bit higher. So it appreciates. Then we sell it, you 3x your money. So you give me $100,000, you get $300,000 back, and I pay you $1,000 a month. Sounds like the sweetest deal ever. Now, if you're the one that orchestrates the whole thing, I think there might be a little bit more money left over for you.
Yeah, it should
I don't know. Should be.
Better be.
Right? You got to go raise capital, do all that stuff. So, yeah, I was like, man.
How was he feeling about that? Was Walker with it?
Oh, Walker was down. Okay. He's already doing stuff too. I mean, like.
Yeah, what's he been on, you know? I remember he was
owns a transportation company.
Really?
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. He owns a transportation company. And I mean, the thing is like, I'm the kind of person where like, I'm not going to bother the shit out of someone. Like if you're famous, it's like, cool, you're famous. But in my own respect, I think I am. You know what I mean?
In your
like
own world, right?
You still feel like equal to the like, you know what I mean? I'm not like, oh, this person's famous or better than me. I'm like, okay, this person's famous. Let's see where we connect and can grow together. Kinda, yeah. So, but yeah, man, that's just what I've got going on. And then, Ben and I were just texting after I was like, man, I hope you had a good Christmas. He's like, you too. He's like, we're going to do this year. I was like, listen, you have no idea. I've already gotten like 10 people that told me when I got the property put together, give them a shout. My brother's one of them. That is one thing I give credit to my brother too, if he ever does watch this, is although we clash, he always, when I have done well, has been the only one financially supportive of me. And what I mean when I say that is I just did his roof.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Just did his roof.
Isn't that crazy? You went from being in his driveway at such a low point in your life to doing his fucking roof, man.
Yeah.
Isn't that powerful?
It is. It's a great experience. It's a great experience. Yeah, that's why I said people are more drawn to the fact of success than they are to the fact of failure because everybody wants to be successful. So if you are successful, people want a piece of that. People want to brush shoulders with that, you know?
Why not?
I just think like genuine success is like knowing that you have stability in yourself. So like you don't like the people I was with my buddy and this girl and they were like, invite Walker to the club. I was like, dude, Walker ain't coming to the club with us. Y'all chill out. Yeah. I was like, y'all don't embarrass us. Just relax. He just trying to say what's up.
You're trying to make money, right?
Yeah,
Fuck
dude.
the
I'm
club.
like, yeah. So
Okay. So you mentioned something interesting where you talked about how it's not until you make 100 grand a month that you're gonna feel like, okay, I'm making something. Do you think that people like they don't see a lot of money, and then when they do, they run into any opportunity, they go spend it on a bunch of crap, and they never really get anywhere with that. Do you think that's like the mindset that society wants people to have so that they don't achieve?
I definitely think consumerism is an issue if you're trying to become financially stable. Like, if I can tell you that with $100,000, you can make $1,000 a month or 12 grand a year, right? 12%, which is, it's not that great compared to the way that money used to be if you left it in the bank account. But for nowadays, for how low the interest rates are, it's pretty solid return, right?
Something.
But I mean, I get it from both aspects. I personally, man, I'm just not a spender on materialistic objects. Now, granted, I have a gorgeous apartment, really love it here. And I spend a bit too much on food, but other than that, like, I make enough to do it. But I really think that people need to, I think you need to save and have goals. And like, but at the same time, I can totally understand if you're making shit money and you're like, I'm broke, dude. Like, believe me, I went to go buy furniture from Italia, and I was in there and I was looking and I was like, oh man, this is gorgeous. I'm going to get this here. And I look at the price tag. It was like $12,000, $15,000 for one piece of furniture. I was like, so clearly I'm not as well off as I would like to think I am. Yeah. And I'm actually broke. Right. So like, yeah. So
do you think that's a good mindset to keep though? Because it keeps you hungry?
Yeah. I mean, comfortability is definitely not the most motivating thing in the world. So like you have to reset your own targets. But I mean, I'm comfortable. Like I live a very comfortable life, but I mean, I'm not comfortable enough to go pick up a Ferrari tomorrow.
Right.
You know,
but you could rent one.
I could rent one for the day. What a waste! But
yeah, what a waste.
That's just ego. You know what I mean?
Ego.
And listen, I got one. I get it. Like I like to flex. I like to go and spend a little bit of money at clubs and stuff. Like I get it. I totally understand. But yeah, I just don't think that the little things like really affect me so much financially. I think I do a little bit better with them. But yeah, I think you need to figure out a way to make money. And then from making money, I think you need to save money. And I think you need to save money with a goal in mind for something that's going to create more money, right? So like the money from this roofing company, I'm going to diversify my portfolio and get into fire and water, right? I have capital to go ahead and do that. Then with the money of both companies, I'm going to diversify into a multifamily. Like I get more kicks out of helping other people make money and like, helping people with their house and all that kind of stuff than I do ever from flaunting materialistic objects. Okay. I mean, I'm wearing a $20 bracelet that's supposed to keep plastic out the ocean right now, so
why not?
Supportive of me.
Okay. So, I want to say but on this channel, we don't talk about if.
Ain't no if.
When you buy the multifamily complex with 10 people, you said? That's the goal?
As many people as I need to get the capital.
Okay, so is the plan to go long term and eventually try to buy those people out, or are you just in it for the monthly revenue and then the flip once you guys up the value on the property?
So to be honest, I don't know completely what the long term goal would be with it because I don't have enough training personally in multifamily. I do know that I've heard that you can buy out positions if the percentage back is high. So like if you buy a property and it's cash flowing at like 30%, right? And you have $1 million in that property and you're making $300,000 a year, like I don't think you'd really want to sell it.
Yeah, right.
But at the same time, if buying and selling is the way that you are acquiring more capital to get into bigger projects, to have more sustainable income in the long term, I think that's a method as well. So it's all debatable. You know what I mean? Like it's all debatable. I think it could be either or. I think at some point I would like to just have, I think what my goal is to have 10 million in the bank. So at 10 million in the bank at 12% return. When I say in the bank, I mean in property, in multifamily properties at a 12% return, which is a relatively low return rate, right? It's not a crazy high return rate.
It's reasonable.
At a 12% return. Receiving 1.2 million a year, or divided by 12, $100,000 a month.
Okay. So going back to the plan from earlier.
Going back to the plan from earlier, I got to acquire $10 million.
Okay. So are you planning to back away from risk management, or not risk management, Sir Roof and Sir Restoration, and get away from the insurance field?
No,
Once you do that, or is that something?
I plan on utilizing those to cash flow to provide me income to purchase property.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you want the cash flow coming in, and then you want to have a good place for it to sit to continue to make itself money.
Correct.
Okay, so I see what's going on. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. So do you think that this entire mindset that you have now, this changed mindset where you got these plans, you got these goals, you're recalculating every year, do you think that this is ultimately what anybody can achieve within their space? Because I feel like a big flaw that we have in life is that we define success, or not necessarily we define, but we're taught by society to define success as financial. And don't get me wrong, money's a big aspect of life. And I mean, you need money to do things. You need money to get around.
Sure.
But do you think success ultimately is just setting a goal and achieving it? Whether that's doing this podcast, whether that's getting up and going for a run, or, having your multifamily complex, 10 million in the bank. How do you define success?
So I don't think success is financial success. I don't think success and finances actually have anything to do with each other. I think that if you choose to have finances and you do that, that's a form of success. But one of my brothers is a professor at the University of Alabama, Jamesy.
Right.
And I mean, I love my brother to death. He's a great guy. And he has his tenure, and he's a professor of literature, and he's extremely successful. Like, I mean, he's got his doctorates and a tenure at a prestigious university of liberal arts. And, that is success. And like, he had the opportunity to make a lot of money. He got his master's from the University of Georgia in business finance and whatever else he did. You know what I mean? Like, he got a job at UPS when he was young, and like, he could have been crushing the game, but that wasn't. I think success is defined by each person. I think the problem is with success in the United States of America is a lot of the conceptualized idea is consumerism, which is, the hotter the girlfriend, the better off you are. The faster the car, you know what I mean? Like all this stuff that, man, that stuff like that, dude, it feels good for the day you got it, but like once you've worn the same pair of shoes and they get a little dirty, you're like over it. You want another pair of shoes. Like you're always going to want more. Like, and that's a big thing with me being a drug addict. Like I'm always going to want more. And like, I think being aware of it and being able to rationalize it and realize like what part my ego plays in it is able to like right now, man, I feel pretty successful. Like I feel pretty happy with myself. I if I was to make as much as I'm making right now for the rest of my life and have a company the size that it is, I still feel successful. If I was to have a significant other and be with that person, like I would feel successful. Do I get misconstrued and wanting a bunch of girls and wanting more money and like trying to achieve more? I mean, yeah, but I don't think that that's going to make me any more successful. I mean, it is in some ways like more successful depending on perception, but like, is success not a feeling? I mean,
okay,
is feeling a success? Like, what is success exactly, right? I think it's in the eye of the beholder.
So it's what you define.
Right.
Success.
Like my dad is 72. He has, 5 kids that are all grown up and they're all doing well and blah, blah, blah. And he doesn't want for anymore. And he was financially successful, but like to me, my dad was not financially successful, right? But to my family, he was. Like he probably tiered out like $170,000 a year, which to maybe a lot of Americans that's successful, but like there's billionaires out there, right? Like that's not successful to me. And that's I mean, I see it as that. Like I don't see that as financially successful, but he also raised a family and like is like a good man. Like he is the man, like that man like has my, you know what I mean? Like no matter what I did in drug addiction and stealing and just being just a piece of shit, he always loved me. And like, you know what I mean? I consider those kind of characteristics, like that's a successful person, like being able to like, being your own truth and nothing derail you from that and just being a good person. Like that is a form of success as well. You know what I mean?
Okay. I feel like on that note, I feel like a lot of people always want to talk about It's all about your actions. It's all about what you're doing. But do you think that behind the actions, more importantly, it's all about your intention with whatever you're trying to do? Like for example, right now, if I'm starving and I go steal a piece of food versus, if I got a bunch of money and I go rob a bank just because I'm trying to come up quick, the two actions, right? One could be a good action, one could be a bad action, but a bad action with good intent versus a good action with bad intent. Do you think it's all about the intent? Because I think it's all about the intent. I think that no matter what you're trying to do, we're all shitty people and we're all good people. We all have a little bit of both. And I mean, for me, I try to, have a little bit of good coming out versus bad because it's like, it's common sense.
Yeah.
But as far as intention goes, sometimes you do bad, but I mean, you have good intention. And sometimes you do great, but you have shitty intention.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that being aware of your intentions are a pretty big deal. And I think that, like, I think that you can have bad intentions and do good things and still it becomes a good thing, right?
Okay.
So like, I think that even when people are manipulative and they have bad intentions, if they're doing the right thing, they're still doing the right thing. At the same time, I think that, having bad intentions and trying to do bad things to people is just like, I don't know. So I'll just speak for myself. I won't speak for other people. For me, being aware of my intentions is a very vital part of my life. And I believe that small actions throughout the day allow me to live the life that I want to live. So like, for example, if I go to lunch and I know that eating a heavy lunch is going to make me tired during the day, then I'm going to try to stick to something that's lighter, maybe leafy greens, a little bit of chicken. You know what I mean? Like I do all these little actions because my intention is that I want to feel good. I want to produce. I want to meet up with Charbel after lunch and do a little podcast. You know what I mean? So I'm just aware of my intentions and then I choose a bunch of little actions to stay within those constructs, I guess is a good word.
Okay. So, intentions, they kind of, they guide everybody. But as far as what we were talking about earlier, we're talking about the rich getting richer, the poor getting poor. Do you think it's the mindset that they want you to be a consumer? They want you to go blow all your money. They want you to flex. They want you to think that you need all these materialistic things to be successful. Do you think it's that idea in the air, in society that, a lot of people are taught that music portrays, that, films portray? Do you think that's what's making people poor and making people rich? Because, I mean, let's be real. A person who's rich isn't, like we said, going out and spending $1,000 on a pair of shoes. Like they don't give a shit. They're trying to make $1,000 on a property they have versus somebody who'll go bust their ass to drop all their money on a Gucci belt just so they can show up to the club and get a look or two. Do you think that idea that society portrays is what's holding a lot of people back?
I think there's two types of rich and two types of poor. Probably multiple, but I think that some rich people just. So what I've always found is that people that come from money, so the main producer of the income typically isn't the one to spend the money, but his beneficiaries are. So the daughter who has a wealthy father is usually pretty flamboyant with his money or careless with their own behaviors, that kind of thing. So versus the dad who actually created the income or, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I think that's it. On the poor side of things, I think, yes, as a whole, we are taught to consume. We're taught to want nice things. We're taught to always want more. Do I think that's why people are poor? I think it's a kind of a poor state of mind. I think that people are poor because there's just not a lot of money for the lower class. Well, I mean, there's just not a lot of opportunity out here. Like, yeah, there's the most jobs ever. Yeah, but you're working 3 jobs. I mean, there's no way to get money working for someone else, number one. And yeah, so I think there's it's a two-way thing for poverty, to be honest. Yes, I think Charbel being aware of why you want to buy that Gucci belt and why you want, I mean, this shirt right here, my God, this is Bloomingdale's. I rock it all the time.
You got to customize
what's it called?
Too.
What is it? Burlington. I don't know why I always say that.
Bloomingdale's.
Burlington.
Okay, so
shout out.
So you're saying that it's all about it's all about knowing what you're trying to do. Like even if
just being aware, man.
Just being
aware. It boils down to being aware. Like why do I want to do this? What is it that makes me want to, why do you want a car that's so expensive? Like, I know why I want one. I know why I want a Ferrari. It's a status symbol. It shows that you actually have money, blah, blah. I know all that, but like at the same time, can I afford that? I mean, I could probably rent a Ferrari every month. Actually, not probably. I could 100% afford a Ferrari every month. Would it be a good decision is the next question. No, it'd be a terrible decision.
Okay.
Like, why would you do that? That's $4,000 a month to rent a vehicle. That's crazy.
Yeah, especially when you're trying to invest.
Probably lease a vehicle, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, especially when you're trying to invest. So like, you got to know what you want. You got to figure out a way to make income, and then you have to go after it. I think figuring out how to make income is essential. And I think if you want to be a producer, you probably got to be in sales.
Okay. So as far as making an income, right? Do you think there should be a good mix between passive and active income, or is it always to try to shoot to make passive income?
I think active income is where you gain the capital to put it into something passive. But like, okay, so I used to do mergers and acquisitions, right?
What exactly is that for people listening?
So mergers and acquisitions is where companies either merge together, they come together as one, Singular buying out AT&T or AT&T buying out Singular and then merging together, or an acquisition where a parent company buys out a smaller company, right? So typically I was doing franchise consulting on a smaller level, but AMCO is a transmission shop. AAMCO, bump, bump. You're probably too young to know that. I only know that because I did it, but it was a commercial that they used to run.
A little too young, yeah.
Right. So, and me too, believe me. So anyways, they have over 700 locations nationwide, right? So AMCO produces $450 million a year. It's a pretty hefty amount. AMCO is owned by American Capital Ltd., a $40 billion a year asset that produces revenue, right? Revenue producing asset.
Jeez.
So someone somewhere on some board or investors, whatever, they own just a little portion of that, and that's passive income to them. But down to like the level of you and I buying the franchise, making $300,000 a year, thinking that we're, big fish out here. We're making $300 a year. We own an AMCO. You know what I mean? That's active income. So like at some point you have to have active income. You have to be doing something to acquire more assets to make passive income. And you can take your passive income, I'm sure, and use it to acquire more things. And then at that point, it's like, I guess really for me, what passive income is what lifestyle do you want to live at? So like, how much do you need to make to live the way you want to make? Everything included.
Okay.
I think that's why for me, the $10 million in real estate, producing $1.2 million a year, $100,000 a month, after 40% taken away, it's about $60,000 a month. I think that's a doable number.
That's where you find yourself comfortable.
Semi.
I mean, because the sky's the limit.
Yeah, I'm comfortable, but yeah, I definitely think when you get there, it'd be a little more fun to kind of keep on pushing for other stuff.
Yeah, it's almost impossible not to.
Yeah, well, like even now having money, like all my old ideas, like, cause man, you think roofing's it for me? No, not at all. Like I have ideas about stuff. Like I have thought up tons of great ideas, and I have some friends that think up fantastic ideas. My buddy Devin Flynn and Tyler Ruby, dude, these guys have like grade A ideas. I love those guys. Great ideas, but it's sometimes not just about being the idea guy. It's being about the executor, The
logistics, getting out there and doing
it.
Yeah.
You got to do it.
You got to do it.
So my biggest thing to anybody listening to this is if you got a thing, write it down, do it. Try. What is it that keeps putting in your mind a roadblock and you keep stopping doing what you're trying to do?
Okay. That's really inspirational because that's all it's about. It's just trying.
It's just about getting over those mental hiccups that stop you.
Yeah, we're gonna die one day.
You're gonna die, bud.
Then you want to look back and be like, at least I tried. I failed, but I tried.
You gotta try. Just never stop trying.
Is that how you feel about the companies you had previously? Like, are you happy that you got out there and failed because now you're successful?
I mean, man, they all taught me individual lessons. So yeah, like I don't think without them would I be able to do what I did. I mean, like figuring out how to set up a company, how to make it look official, how to market, how to brand, how to like, you know what I mean? Like all that stuff was definitely very beneficial until you get to the point where your company's making money. And then you're already like, you're ahead of the game at that point, because you already know how to set up the company. I mean, a lot of people that I go against in the industry that I'm in, kind of a little bit of rookies. I'm going to call them out right now. I mean, these roofers are rookies. They don't market very well. I mean, the companies that do it, they're great. They're my competitors. They have large sales teams and all that stuff. The companies that don't, I mean, they're burning off the wayside. You don't use Facebook advertising. You don't have Google guaranteed. You don't market on SEO. You don't reinvest in your company. You don't make content. You don't get your face out in front of people. Like, that hurts. Consumers nowadays want to look up reviews and see who it is that they're working with long before they ever have you over at their house if it's going to be an inbound lead. So if that's the case, like, you have to have a very strong online presence. And a lot of people don't even want to do this. Charbel, people don't like having their face out there.
That's what it's all about, man. Your face card is everything.
Hello?
Your face card is literally everything. Wow. You mentioned something interesting about competition. See, a lot of people that I've talked to, a lot of successful people, no matter the craft, and, even myself, I'm out here, I'm doing this with you. I'm happy. I feel successful, right? And I think it's interesting because a lot of the people I've talked to that are doing things successfully, they don't fear competition. They welcome competition because there's space for everybody. But the people who aren't doing as well, they're really stingy about competition. They don't want competition.
Yeah.
They don't like competition.
Yeah.
They want to guard their ideas and
I
all
think
this weird shit.
I think that helping people is, so like me and my buddy that I do roofing with, or we did roofing together. I mean, like, I've told him so much. He's setting up an office in Atlanta. I was like, here's the crews. Here's how much you pay them. I was like, dude, you're overpaying for material. Here's how you, like, I helped him restructure all of his stuff. Cause he's like, well, I'm not making that much. I was like, bro, you're doing this, and this wrong, So, bro, there's enough for everybody to be out there, and people aren't going to choose you because because they don't know about the other person. Like, you know what I mean? That's a very controlling and childish thought to try and enable other people. Look, I want everybody to make money. I want everyone to do well.
Or at least have the opportunity.
At least have the opportunity to, and that's just being a human and not being like, So yes, I like a buddy of mine, same guy I mentioned earlier. His name's Patrick Sheehan, and I was coming back up from Augusta, and I was like, man, like, I haven't really been doing roofing. I'm nervous. It's Atlanta. There's a lot of competition. Like, da da da. And he was on the phone with me, and he was like, bro, listen. He was like, you are the competition. He was like, it's you that they're worried about, not the other way around. Like, you're not competing with anyone. You're you. And when I sat there and thought about it, I was like, dude, he's right. Like, if I'm killing it down here in Augusta, like, why couldn't I come back to Atlanta and do well? Because in my mind, it was like every roof had already been done in Atlanta. Everybody was, you know what I mean? Like, just that kind of perception. And when I got up here, man, I hit the ground running. And I used that thought. I was like, I'm the one, like, I'm going to do a better job than any other roofer out there because I'm going to service the homeowner better than anyone else will. I'm going to answer any questions. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to be very transparent. I'm going to answer my phone whenever they call. I'm going to take care of any little mishap that happens. I had a homeowner that got shingle thrown off, scratched their front door, had to get the whole front door painted. The same homeowner, a nail went through their AC unit randomly, right going against the inside of the ceiling. I had to get someone out there to solder the AC unit and fill it up. I mean, things that cost me thousands of dollars, right? Like, getting all this taken care of. But, like, I know for a fact, regardless, that homeowner, like, I'm very anal about reviews. I'm very anal about the way I'm perceived as a company. And I'm very anal about how my sales guys and myself treat people. Cause, like, I get that it's your home. I get it. Like, I have a truck. I know what it's like. You know what I mean? Like, I have this place. Like, I know what it's
space.
Like. Yeah. Like, it's your thing. And, like, I try and emphasize that with my guys as well. And they've all done a very good job about it. And that is why, like, I mean, we get referrals and, like, repeat business. And, like, it's just the way I like the show to be ran,
So on that note, do you think no matter how big you get, you're always going to be like an open door company? Like, people are always going to be able to contact you if they have an issue? Or eventually are you kind of trying to put a buffer in between there?
Like, me individually?
Yeah, you specifically, because you're talking about, you don't mind sitting down with them. You don't mind getting all the little things out the way. Door got scratched, AC got busted. We're going to get it done, and that's what separates you. Do you think that down the line it's going to be hard to do, or is that going to always be, like, your goal is to provide that full package?
Yeah, so it's going to be to provide that full package, but at that point, I don't know what size we're talking, but if we're talking multiple states, I don't think I'm going to personally fly out to Dallas, Texas to have a sit down.
Hell no.
But I'll have a guy out in Dallas that will be just like me. You know what I mean? Or I'll have someone in Nashville that will be just like me. Like, so at that point, like, yes, the same concept still applies, which is like servicing the homeowner, servicing your customer.
Wow. Yeah, man. Well, believe it or not, we've been going for an hour. And, you know,
Check me out.
check him out. You've been hot for an hour. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So for a person who's watching this, man, they've heard all the good content. They've seen how far you come. What is the last thing that you want to leave them with? The last thing that they should take with them that, you know what, if you weren't giving a shit the whole time, if you want to listen in right now, what is something that they need that they can actively do to change their situation? You know?
Man, I honest to God believe the number one thing that you can start doing is focusing on one behavior at a time. So if that means getting up earlier, going to bed earlier, cutting out bad carbs at lunch, starting to go to the gym, whatever it is, choose that one thing, master that one thing, continue to do that with other things until these good actions start to portray into other parts of your life and you become a fully functioning and well-rounded individual. That it would be my core advice is don't focus on making $1 million. Don't focus on, doing all this stuff. Focus on the one thing, become a master at it, become good at it, and then continue to help yourself in other ways.
That's amazing, man. That's inspirational. Well, hey, man, you're the dog. You're the big dog.
Let the big dogs eat, everybody.
Everybody that's watching this right now, they support you, right? They support you, and they know that they're waiting to see the success. So how can they follow you? How can they interact with Sir Roof? You're saying $250 referrals. Like, shout out all the Instagram pages, all the ways that they can get in touch with you personally.
So my Instagram's Conor the King, DA. So you can hit me up on there. Sir Roof is Sir_Roof on Instagram. I think Twitter's like Sir Roof as well. I don't really use Twitter, but you can check it out. Our Facebook page is Sir Roof, and look up Sir Roof, sirroof.com. And YouTube, there's YouTube as well. We got a YouTube channel. I put a lot of content out up there. You can look up Sir Roof on YouTube. And if you ever have family or friends, I pay $250 referrals. So, don't be shy to reach out. If you want me to personally manage it, I can. That's fine.
Oh, man. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, man. Thank you so much.
Charbel.
My name is Charbel Milan.
Conor McNaughton.
This has been a time shared. Thank you so much.